Good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy on a Bike. You know, big things are happening in the world of gravel bikes. And by big things, I mean big tires. Welcome to another video. This one's been a long time coming because I wanted to do this quite a while ago, but man, it got hot. Haven't been on the gravel bike much because summer here over 100 consistently. Our gravel bike rides are pretty much low elevation mountains with no shade, so doing a lot of road riding. But temperatures are starting to turn a little bit, and here's what I'm all about in this video and the next parts of this series, because I'm on a little bit of a quest, because I am a curious old guy. Now, not that I'm curious. In other words, like, dude, what a curious guy. Yeah, well, probably that too, but I mean, I'm wondering, as gravel bike tires get wider and bigger, what are the trade-offs, right? We start off with 38s and then 40s. Well, that's all anybody'd ever need, you know, or whatever. And I love a 42, a fat 42 that really is a 44. I've ridden 45s, 47s are out there, and now we're seeing more and more 50s. And some folks, under the right conditions, are running 2.0 to 2.2 fast 29er tires if they'll fit on their gravel bike. Remarkable. Remarkable. So let's chat about that and how I'm going to check this out, because I'm wondering at some point something it's got to give. If you're getting, you're giving, because everything on bikes, when you change something, it's compromise. It's getting warm already. One of the things that makes this so interesting, gravel bikes are kind of where mountain bikes were, say in the 90s going into the 2000s, I think. They're in their awkward teenage years. And one of the challenges with pinning down gravel bikes is they're used on such a variety of conditions and uses. Some people, it's almost their road bike. Other people, they're often, single tracks, and they're using them like a mountain bike. It's pretty hard to have one bike that's going to do an excellent job everywhere as far as gearing and all the equipment you'd use. But it does point out that a gravel bike by nature is a very, very versatile animal, and that's pretty awesome. But just like happened with mountain biking, there was a time in my mountain biking days where whatever you did on your mountain bike, you had one bike. You did it for everything. And I think with gravel bikes, that's the way it was, in the beginning. And now we're definitely starting to see a separation. But regardless of that, regardless of the separation between like a racy, almost road-oriented gravel bike and a full-on, get out there with your bike packing bags gravel bike and everything in between, what we are starting to see, I think, is a settling down of capability of gravel bikes, that they're going to take, the mullet is becoming more and more widely recognized. And I think 1x at some point is just about going to completely eclipse 2x for gravel bikes. That's my prediction. Good for the good or for the bad. But I think we are all going to see, even on a race bike, gravel bike, an increased tire clearance, because there are times when running a bigger tire is absolutely faster than running a smaller tire. But not always. Sometimes it isn't. So I'm curious. I wanted to see where was that line drawn for someone like me, the way I use my gravel bike. Because you don't get something for nothing. There's no free lunch, guys. If you keep putting a bigger and bigger tire on your gravel bike, yeah, it's great in the dirt, but it's heavier. And so if you're doing some kind of a paved road climb at the end of your big gravel ride, 2.2 mountain bike tire is going to suck. You know what I'm saying? So there's got to be a give and take. Now, where that line is going to be different for different people. What about for me? So one thing I had to figure out first was, on the only gravel bike I've got, which is my titanium Turner Cyclosis, just how big of a tire can I fit on there anyway? So I needed to find that out. I've been running a 42 millimeter wide WTB Resolute. I tested 45s and 47s and they fit fine with lots of room. And those 42 Resolutes, they're almost 45 millimeters wide. So I had a ton of room. So I knew I could do a 50, but I didn't know if I could do anything bigger. For instance, could I get a 2.2 mountain bike tire in there if it's not such a big, wide, fatty version? So what I did, I looked around, and I don't have a lot of that kind of stuff around anymore, those kinds of tires, but my wife has the dog bike. Now this dog bike, it's a Niner Sur 9, beautiful red frame, and it's used mostly to exercise the dog out in the canyon and the dirt roads. But it's running some 2.0 pretty fast 29er tires from back in the day on a 30 millimeter rim. So they measure out to 53 millimeters wide, which is pushing it for a 50 millimeter tire, but it's going to be less than a 2.2. So what I did, since it's a non-boost hub, it's an old 29er wheel, it fits right in the frame, my Turner Cyclosis. And so I slotted it in there, and I wanted to see whether it would hit or how much room I had. And surprise, 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 I had plenty of room. I took a 6 millimeter Allen wrench and I could just wiggle it by the tire in the frame everywhere and fork plenty of room. 5 millimeter Allen key just drops right through. So for me, in the conditions I ride in, being non-muddy, that's all the room I need to run the tire at least 53 millimeters wide and maybe even 55. Things are getting spicy. Okay, everybody needs a plan. This is mine. Now, you know, I've already said I've been running the WTB 42 millimeter Resolutes, and I run them at typically 30 pounds. That would be the normal for all around mixed surface riding. If I'm going to go in the dirt heavy, I'll drop 5 pounds or so, right? So I know that tire. Now, one of the challenges with just like changing tire size and saying, oh, I've got it all figured out, is what if the tire is different, right? Well, WTB, in their wisdom, seeing the future, came out with a 50 millimeter version of the WTB Resolute, which is what I mounted up on these rims. So I've removed my 42 millimeters, I put the 50s on there, and on the same rims, same tires, same bike. So it's going to give me a very, very good comparison between the two tires, and I'm just going to go ride them and see what differences I feel, what benefits I feel. I've got a couple events coming up I'm traveling to for gravel, one up in Lassen County and one in Mammoth, and if I make both of those are the plans. And that and just general riding around here, I'm going to have a pretty good idea, I think, on how these are treating me compared to the smaller, lighter tire. Now, there's a weight difference. Now, I don't have it memorized. I'll put it up on the screen between the 42s and the 50s. Obviously, besides the size gain, there's a weight gain, and that's not insignificant because your tire is furthest thing out on your wheel, rotating, and rotating weight is where it matters the most on your bike. And I think I will notice that I'm predicting on those little accelerated climbs, especially on smooth surfaces, especially on the road, because I am on the road a fair amount with my gravel bike. I'm predicting in the dirt, they're going to be marvelous. Now I'm running these right now at 25 pounds, and honestly that feels great, and I bet you I could drop a couple pounds out of that if I was going to be off-road all day and be just fine, because as your tire gets bigger, right, it's harder and harder to take that tire into the rim on rocks. So you can lower the pressures and get away with it. Now, one thing I noticed with these right away, I'm slightly disappointed in, and we'll see what happens, is they're not 50s yet. They're actually measured, I believe they were 49 millimeters wide, which kind of surprised me a little bit, but you know, tires, give them a chance. They tend to stretch and grow as the casing grows and as you ride the tire and it's aired up and whatnot. So we'll see. If they aren't 50s by the time I'm done riding them WTB, you got some splaining to do. We'll see how that works out. And then, once I've ridden these for a while, well, I'm going to escalate. I'm going to take it up a notch. I'm going to see what I can fit in here, probably from the mountain bike line of things. Maybe find a 2.1 or a slim 2.2 and shoehorn this in here even if it's close, and I'll go ride it because, you know, if that's what people are clamming for, give us bigger and bigger tires, you know. Somewhere you got to pay the piper. I'm just curious to see, because I think for some of the rides I do, if I could run a fast 2.2 on a gravel bike, that would totally rock. But on some of the rides I do, it would totally suck. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's the next journey. So stay tuned. It's going to take me a while. I don't do things lightly, so I'm going to ride this for a while and play with it. You probably won't see much updates for a while, but stay tuned. And you know what? If you haven't subscribed, do that, because I'd love to have you around for the journey. I'm a curious kind of fellow, and I'm going to be trying all kinds of different things over the next few months of videos. Thanks to WTB for sending out these 50mm Resolutes at no charge. Oh, and they also, by the way, I almost forgot, they send me some of their new valve stems, tubeless valve stems, which look quite nice. Got the extra little air ports on the bottom, so hopefully they don't clog as easily. Thanks for doing that. They got a whole line of tubeless products right now, and I use their tubeless tire sealant to fill these up. And so far, I've had pretty good results from that too. All right, guys, have a great week or weekend. And as always, go ride your bikes, whether it's a gravel bike, mountain bike, fat bike, road bike, whatever kind of bike you got. Go ride it, because bikes are awesome.